Saying it's hotter than Hades is a common misconception. Hades ain't all that hot. I mean, it's humid, but it ain't scorching. Want to know how I know? You see, there was this Greek goddess Persephone, and Hades kidnapped her and spirited her away to the underworld. And they had a garden with pomegranates and such, so it couldn't have been too hot if the fruit wouldn't grow. Persephone is Greek. Goddess mom was awful sad that she had to marry against her will. So spring and summer sort of dried up and ruined everything. So Hades agreed that he let her go during the pleasant months. But during fall and winter, she was stuck downstairs. Now you might feel sorry for Persephone, but I say it was her own dang fault for eating the fruit the spirit wanted in the first place. For which helps my hide is, how come she didn't escape? I mean, if I was Persephone, I would walk right up to Hades, nice and black, and then wham! Sucker punch, right in the gut, and then take off running.
Raft? What are you, crazy? He was Italian, for God's sakes. No, I was already in enough trouble as it was. No, it was your father I always had a crush on. Ever since I was 13 years old. But he was a hard man to impress. That's why I went to the Primrose that night. I thought if Jack had heard that I danced with George Raft, that maybe I'd get him to notice me. So that night, Adele Abrams, me and Adele Abrams, in a pouring rain, we go to the Primrose, and my hair got soaked. I lost all my curls. I thought I'd die. But then I get this brilliant idea. Instead of drying it, I leave it wet and I comb it straight down. It was jet black hair. I look like a Latin from Manhattan. The perfect partner for George Raft. I guess 10 men must have asked me to dance that night, but I turned them all down because I didn't want to get tired. But then I started to get scared. It was 10 after 11, and he hadn't shown up yet. And I had to be home by midnight, or else my parents would walk in and find out that I had lied to them. And my mother, I did not need God to punish me. So, about 20 after 11 though, he walks in. Oh, he looked like the king of Spain. My heart was beating louder than the drummer in the band. He had two guys with him, one on either side, like bodyguards. And I swear they had something in their front pocket. I thought to myself, either there's guns or there's more grease for his hair. So he comes in and they have a seat. And I think, oh, I gotta do something fast. So I grab Bobby Zaghetti, who's a shoe clerk and the best dancer at the Primrose. And I say, Bobby, dance with me. Now, I knew that Bobby always had a crush on me, but I never gave him a tumble before. He never knew what hit him. We went out on that dance floor, and we danced from one end to the other. Oh, in and out, bobbing and weaving, gliding across the floor like a pair of ice skaters. And not once did I look over at George Raft. I wanted to get his attention, not give him mine. So we finished dancing, and Bobby dips me down to the ground, and, well, probably a little lower than a good girl should dip. But I figured one more sin wasn't going to kill me. So I come off the floor, and I'm dripping in perspiration. I go up to Adele, and I say, Adele, did he notice me? And she goes, well, I can't tell. His eyes don't move. So I look out over his table, and she's right. His eyes don't move. And I think, oh, all this, and you never even noticed me. Well, it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. So Adele and I headed for the door. But as we passed George Raft's table, he stands up and he says, excuse me. And he's looking right at Adele Abrams. And he says, may I ask you a question, please? So she's shaking like a leaf, and she goes over to his table, and he says, do you think that your friend would like to dance with me? She goes, you want me to ask her? And he says, yes, please. I'm a little shy. I swear to God, may I never live to see him another day. So she comes over and she asks me. So I look over at him, and he smiles. And then his eyes move. Oh, not fresh or anything like that, though. He had the look of a man with a lot of confidence, and I'd never seen that before. It kind of scared me. So I walked on over his table, and he took my hand and walked out to the center of the dance floor. Everyone in the Primrose was watching us, even the band. Someone had to whisper, stop playing, so they would begin. And they began. And we danced all over that dance floor. And I held my head straight up high and my back as straight as a board. And I only looked up or down at the floor. I never looked in his eyes. I saw a professional do that once. arms. and his touch was so gentle. I always knew which way he wanted me to go and which way he wanted me to turn.
Fairfax?
Pray don't talk to me about the weather, Mr. Worthing. Whenever somebody talks to me about the weather, I always feel quite certain that they mean something else. And that makes me so nervous.
Well, I do mean something else.
I thought so. In fact, I am never wrong.
And I would like to be allowed to take advantage of Lady Bracknell's temporary absence.
I would certainly advise you to do so. Mama has a way of coming back suddenly into a room that I've often had to speak to her about.
Miss Fairfax, ever since I met you, I have admired you more than any other girl that I have ever met since I met you.
Yes, I'm quite well aware of that. I often wish that in public, at any rate, you had been more demonstrative. For me, you've always had an irresistible fascination. Even before I met you, I was far from indifferent to you. We live, as I hope you know, Mr. Worthing, in an age of ideals. The fact is constantly mentioned in the more expensive monthly magazines and has reached the provincial pulpits, I am told. My ideal has always been to marry someone of the name of Ernest. There is something in that name that inspires absolute confidence. The moment Algernon first mentioned to me that he had a friend called Ernest,
Yes.
I knew I was destined to love him.
Do you really love me, Gwendolyn?
Passionately.
Darling, you don't know how happy that's made me.
My own Ernest.
But you don't mean to say that you couldn't really love me if my name weren't Ernest, hmm?
Your name is Ernest.
Yes, I know, but supposing it was something else, do you mean to say that you couldn't love me then?
That is clearly a metaphysical speculation. And like most metaphysical speculations, has very little reference at all to the actual facts of real life as we know them.
Well, personally, darling, I don't much care about the name of Ernest. Frankly, I don't think the name suits me at all.
It suits you perfectly. It's a divine name. It has a music of its own. It produces vibration.
Really, Gwendolyn, I must say that I think there are lots of other marvelous names. I think Jack, for instance, a charming name.
Jack.
Yes.
No. There is very little music in the name Jack, if any at all. It does not thrill. It produces absolutely no vibration. I have known several Jacks, and they all, without exception, were more than usually plain. Besides, Jack is a notorious domesticity for John, and I pity any woman who is married to a man called John. She would probably never be allowed to know the entrancing pleasure of a single moment's solitude. The only really safe name is Ernest.
Gwendolyn, I must get christened at once. I mean, we must be married at once. There's no time to waste.
Married, Mr. Worthing?
Well, surely, yes. You know that I love you, and you have led me to believe that you are not entirely indifferent to me.
Well, I adore you, but you haven't proposed to me yet. Nothing at all has been said about marriage. The subject hasn't even been touched on.
Yes. Well, may I propose to you now?
It'd be an admirable opportunity. To save you any possible disappointment, Mr. Worthing, I think it's quite fair to tell you quite frankly beforehand that I am
Yes.
fully determined to accept you.
Ha! Gwendolyn!
Yes, Mr. Worthing, what have you got to say to me?
Well, you know what I've got to say to you.
Yes, but you don't say it.
Yes, right. Gwendolyn, darling, will you marry me?
Of course I will, darling. How long you have been about it? I'm afraid you have very little experience now. Oh,
My own one, I have never loved anyone in the world more than you.